Welcome one and all. Step right up and get your tickets for another moment in gaming history.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome officially to the channel. This is a series where we're going to various different moments in video game history. Today I want to talk about the early origins of a type of game that's had more than a little bit of resurgence lately, and that's the beat-em-up game. Often thought of incorrectly as a precursor to the fighting genre, this type of game often has one or more players fighting through waves of bad guys that often take multiple hits in order to defeat. Many in the genre have throws and even special moves that can be executed like in fighting games. But how old is this genre? When did it start? What did the first game look like? Well, pull up a seat and hang out for a while as we take a look at the history of the beat-em-up genre. Now, the earliest game I have found in this genre was released in the arcades in 1984. It was simply known as Kung Fu Master, and was developed by IREM and distributed by Data East. Takashi Nishiyama wanted to make a game that was based off Hong Kong martial arts films, intending it to be a sequel of sorts to Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung's film Wheels on Meals. The main character Thomas was actually named after Jackie Chan's character from the film even. This wasn't the only inspiration the game would have though. It was also inspired by Bruce Lee's film known as Game of Death, which provided much of the basis of the game's concept. Thomas even took outfit designs from the movies looking a bit like Bruce Lee. The premise was simple in this one. Thomas's girlfriend has been kidnapped and taken to the Devil's Temple. Thomas must make his way through the 5 levels of the temple, facing off against henchmen of the crime boss Mr. X, before facing him directly to save his girl at the end of the game. Now, mechanically, this game was pretty simple. Thomas could move left and right, he could also crouch, and he could jump. And he would need all these movement tools to fight off the various different waves of bad guys that would swarm in from either side of the stage, making most of the gameplay pretty frantic, almost as much as some of the shoot-em-ups at the time, which honestly shouldn't come as much of a surprise since Nishiyama had previously worked on a side-scrolling shooter that you may know of, Moon Patrol. Now, a lot of those gameplay elements got incorporated into the design of this game, making it feel very similar in a lot of ways to a game of that genre. Thomas also had 3 ways of attacking people in this game. He could punch, which got you the most points. He could also kick, and he could crouch and kick, making for some fairly frantic action as enemies closed in, especially when many of them would take multiple hits to drop. Now, at the end of each stage, Thomas would face off against a unique enemy that functioned as one of the bosses mentioned above. That's where the enemy bar on the top of the screen came in. This worked a lot like Ninja Gaiden in the fact that it indicated the boss's health meter next to Thomas's. Overall, this one played a lot more like a side-scrolling shooter but with punches and kicks. But it was a start, and honestly it did really well, becoming a major commercial success and even topping the Japanese arcade charts and becoming one of America's second highest grossing arcade games in 1985 when it dropped. It was so popular in fact that it quickly got a port to the Nintendo Entertainment System with a slight name change to simply just Kung Fu, selling 3.5 million copies worldwide, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but in the NES era, that was a lot. It would even see a port of it that would hit the Commodore 64, becoming one of the top 5 best-selling games of that system in 1986. Since this time, a number of beat-em-ups have hit the scene, most allowing for the player to move between lanes, which I don't know how to explain it, they're just known as lanes. Those of you that have played one like that understand what I'm talking about. Or just move in and out of the screen as they see fit. More complex movesets would come into play, and even special moves that could be executed would be added. This would take this from more of a reskin side-scrolling shooter to a full-on genre all on its own, bringing a series to Final Fight, Streets of Rage, and even a host of Ninja Turtle games before falling out of fashion for a time. Today though, we're seeing a huge resurgence in popularity of the genre, with a new Turtles game hitting the market, Mayhem Brawler, and even a Toxic Crusader game coming down the pipe in the near future. It's safe to say that people's love of these games hasn't really waned that much. Their easy to pick up and play nature, surprisingly deep yet simple combat system, and wide array of colorful characters and stages makes it appealing to almost anyone of any age. However, what do you guys think of this one? Did any of you know Kung Fu was pretty much the first beat-em-up? Did any of you ever play in the arcade or the NES versions? What about the Commodore 64 version? I'm actually quite curious on that one. What are some of your favorite games in this genre? Let me know in the comments. While you're there, please leave this video a like. It really does help me out. Also, consider subscribing. That way you don't miss out any other videos like this that I do. For now, though, thank you once again, and until next time, happy gaming.